Married at First Sight, everybody. This is more of a rant and not a recap or a review. Because if I sat through the last 2 hours, you need to sit through it too. Because I feel like, one, production has been teasing us for the past, and since the beginning of the season, because we all know why we are still watching. We are waiting on Hurricane Michaela to show herself, for her to hit land. And it seems as though it's going to happen next week. All right? It's going to happen next week. Spoiler alert. Hurricane Michaela, Category 5, will hit next week. It will hit Houston, Harris County, surrounding areas next week. So, that being said, I watched 2 hours of this show and kind of bored to tears. I mean, there were some peaks and valleys in this episode. The peak was Myrla and Gil are happy. Gil is more than what Myrla even ever imagined for herself. And the funny thing that she said was, you know how you pray for things, but you don't necessarily believe that they're going to happen? Well, I mean, that is a real and true statement for many people. You pray and pray, but you don't really think it's going to happen. So, and typically it doesn't happen because, that's rule number one in manifesting. You have to believe it before you receive it. So on some level, I think Myrla was receiving it, or her heart was open to love, and therefore she and Gil seem to be the only two having a natural, harmonious relationship. The only issue that I have is that the onus of this relationship is put on Myrla. Like, it's all about, well, if you're being negative, you're Debbie Downer, and just little digs that Gil takes at Myrla, like, you see what I have to deal with, whatever. Yes, Myrla is critical, and I actually relate to Myrla because I have something to say about everything. Mind you, I'm not as vocal as Myrla is about something because over the years I've learned, let me just keep that to myself. Let me self-edit. But Myrla's going to put it all out there. I don't like that. We don't hit her waves in the ocean. Oh, our rooms are too close to the other people. The sun is too bright. The clouds are too dark. Look at this tiny apartment. Myrla's going to say whatever comes to mind. She said to Dr. Pepper she has no filter. However, it's like, why is it always on her to how she makes him feel? Maybe they edited it out, but how about how Gil makes Myrla feel? Mind you, she did say he's everything she could have ever imagined, but they didn't what's his name? Pastor Cal didn't ask Gil, what does Myrla need? He didn't ask him that. It was all about Myrla being Debbie Downer and Myrla being negative. When, I think it's often confused. Negativity and being critical is often confused because people, when you are not in agreement with them and you don't naturally make them feel like wanted or liked or whatever, people automatically say, oh, you're negative. You're just negative Nancy. But, it's not necessarily the case. You're just critical. You could be and living in harmony, but still have a critical eye. Like, I'm just very observant. And that's the way I put a spin on it. I'm observant. I observe everything. Nothing gets past me. I see it all. Even if I don't say it, I saw it. But I think that's what's going on with Myrla. But it's like, why is it all her fault? Why? What is Gil doing to accommodate her? Mind you, I know she's happy with Gil, but they never speak about it. The experts don't speak about what does Myrla need from Gil. They always say, what does Gil need from Myrla? Or what do all the ladies need from these men? Which brings me to Jose and Rachel. Now, Jose apologized for his behavior, but let's let it be known that behavior is still there and it hasn't gone anywhere, and he hasn't learned his lesson. Jose is still in it to control, and he said, because his father, Jose Sr., and his mother were not in a loving relationship, and his father did cheat on his mother, and he's since remarried, that Jose never saw love. And so what Jose just wants to control the narrative. Many people, when they didn't see love or comfort or stability, when they grow up, they want to create this whole they want to create the narrative and control it so it won't be like what they grew up with. But in turn, they don't know how that looks, so they just start doing very erratic and toxic things to people they're in relationships with. And that's what I believe Jose has done. Jose hasn't changed. Jose is still like, like, you can see the anger building up in his head and his forehead. I mean, it's there. Like, I mean, he needs a whiteboard for his emotions, his anger, his aggression, his control. But, that's not what I'm interested in. We know what we're all interested in. There are two couples that we're interested in. But we will touch on Brett and Ryan. Ryan clearly isn't interested in Brett. Brett knows Ryan isn't interested in Brett. Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal both gave them the assignment to have real conversations. Have those tough conversations. What did they do? They went back and just glossed over the tough conversations. And even like Ryan's sister basically like dropped some hints, like spilled a little bit of the tea to Brett to basically say, I think he's still in love with somebody else. Which I was like, dang, what kind of sister are you? You totally are like breaking code, sister code, I guess. I don't know. But like, if you're going to spill a little bit, you need to spill it all. But Ryan could not have that conversation. And why is it so hard? Johnny did. Is Johnny less of a coward than Brett and Ryan? So moving on to Zach and Michaela. She's a hurricane. Hurricanes are unpredictable. They may go west or they may go east. You just don't know. So this is what Zach is dealing with. Hurricane Michaela. She's gonna hit land. She's gonna hit land. We don't know. She might pick up momentum or she might slow down. She might fall off. She might turn this way. She might go this way. That is Michaela. Michaela takes everything to the extreme. They could be having a good time, but you say one little word to Michaela and she goes left. And that's what she does. Michaela asked Zach, well, on decision day, would you say yes or no? They both said no, so we're going to sleep in different rooms. And like, as of now, we're at a no, but we're making progress. But no, I don't see why we need to sleep in the same room if we going to say no on decision day. But we're making progress. But she can't hear that. Michaela is the girl who goes in for a job interview, does exceptionally well. She listens intently. She answers the questions appropriately. But when it's time to do her job, Michaela doesn't know what she's doing. So then she acts erratic with all the other employees. She comes in like trying to point fingers and telling people what to do. I know girls like Michaela. And she didn't last long at jobs because she can't do the job, and she's so emotional. And she's also that girl at the job who gets hired for a position she's not qualified for because she tells them, yes, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. Oh, totally, I can do that. But then when she gets a job, she can't do that. She freaks out. Then she starts barking orders at other people. I know people like Michaela. And so that's why Michaela and Zach are not working, because she's so erratic and unpredictable, just like a hurricane. Hence why her family gave her that name. They're from Houston, and Houston has seen many hurricanes. And we know, like, sometimes it's going to hit land, or maybe it might be headed towards us, but then it makes a turn and goes to Louisiana. Or it might come to us. It might be like a little bit slow, but then it might hit land, and then it might stall and stay there for a minute, but then it moves on. That's Michaela. So they might as well end it because it's getting abusive, much like Johnny and Bao. It's abusive at this point because Zach cannot take it. Zach is not emotionally. Zach is from a loving family. It's obvious just by the way he was like, I love you to my brother, to his brothers. That's how they ended their conversation. His mother coddled him like, oh, you're my angel baby. He's from a loving home, and Michaela is from homes like many people, where there's arguing and cussing and fighting. Though it's two parents in the house, it may not be the most stable. It may be a stable environment, but it's still volatile. And that's what she's used to, and Zach's not used to that. So why the experts thought they would be good for each other is ridiculous. Because people coming from opposite backgrounds are not equally yoked, and how do they function well? Because I just think it's bull that the experts like, oh, we're gonna match these opposites. She's good at this, you're weak at that. Let's match. Like, opposites may attract, but opposites don't necessarily stick together. They don't necessarily stay together long term. So I just think that the guise in which experts are matching these people is just crazy, and quite honestly, I just think it's for TV. So yeah, that's what I have on that. Moving on to Johnny and Bao. Johnny is the king of douches. I mean, one thing I will agree with Johnny on is he did say, I am not attracted to Bao. However, what preceded it was just weeks of, as Bao says, cutting her down. Like telling her all these things and twisting the story basically to blame her for not giving him enough or not participating in the relationship. When all in all, Johnny, it's just basic. You're not attracted to her. You never have been. You said 15 years ago we went on a date. I wasn't attracted to you. We didn't go on a second date. Done. But you had to be mean about it, Johnny. And then the funny thing about this is, and this is going a little bit deeper than most people would even think to go. Johnny is a apper, a swiper. He's a dating app guy. He's addicted to dating apps. And the funny thing is, if you go on percentages and statistics, Asian men are at the lowest of the totem pole when it comes to swipes and attractive levels on online dating, along with black women. And now I know that these statistics are based in stereotypes, the stereotypes about black women and the stereotypes about Asian men. But let's just be clear, this is the case in the world. So Johnny, you're swiping right, swiping left on women looking for perfection, and you have this woman, you got them married at first sight, you have this woman Bao who's ready, who wants to be. Now mind you, you said it could have been anybody in the world but Bao. So from day one, you didn't want this. You had one foot out the door from day one. But yet you proceeded to lead her on, and that's where the issue comes. You led her on all this time, making her think you were in it. And then you flip on her the moment she gets a little bit comfortable, a little bit of ease. Then you flip it. Then you keep, I'm going to try again. Then you flip it again. Then you get mean as if you are the gift or the prize. When, Johnny, you have it harder out there than Bao, because whereas Asian men are at the lowest of the totem pole, Asian women are higher up there. So basically, Bao would be fine after decision day. You, on the other hand, I don't know. And then the streets are saying Bao and Zach are dating, which I can't really see it. And from the clips from next week, Bao looked terrified from what she saw about Michaela. And I don't know if her reaction was to Michaela or Michaela and both Zach. But I will say, Johnny, you're a douche. And you need to get over yourself, because you're not hot. You're kind of wafy. You're balding. And your personality has been very jerkish. So you need to do some, you need Olivia Pope to do some PR work on what you presented to the world on Married at First Sight. Because it's not cool. It's not cool. And for experts to continue after this past week to suggest that Bao keep, having discussions with Johnny, or to ask him certain questions, it would be abusive for her to stay in this situation. So for you to promote this sort of emotional abuse, knowing that Johnny isn't interested in her and knowing how Johnny has been mean to her, would make you lose all credibility. And to use Lisa Rinna's word or phrase and Kyle's phrase from season 2, shame on you, because it's ridiculous at this point to keep asking these people to go back in and try harder. This man is clearly abusive, emotionally abusive, and not willing to be a part and be an active participant in this relationship, because he said it. I'm not attracted to her. And he can play that role but he's not attracted. And it's emotional abuse. Because if you keep going back to someone who says, I am not attracted to you, you are accepting abuse. And we don't want that for Bao. We don't want that for Rachel, to keep coming back to Jose when Jose is going to actively be Jose and be controlling and be verbally abusive at that. And he seems like he could get physically abusive, because, he definitely has little man syndrome. So he's going to definitely get buck at some point in a relationship. And then given that Rachel has had insecurities in her relationship, she would probably sit there and take it for a little bit. Although she says, no, I am out. But no, she went back after that thing when he locked her out the house. Like, no, after you lock me out once, it's over. After you tell me you're not attracted to me, it's over. Because it does not serve me to keep coming back. Anywho, like and subscribe and tell me what you think. Bye.